He said he didn't know who it was. It was just one time. He got drunk and fell into someone's vagina is basically what happened.
I'm Andrea Gunning.
And I'm Ben Fetterman.
And yeah, it's been a minute, but we're back with Dating Diaries, questions and confessions. So we've been off for a few weeks. Ben, do you want to give us the details?
Yeah, the details are that my wife and I welcomed our son, our first child, into the world a month ago today. His name is Ethan, and he just broke the 8-pound mark today. Big deal gaining all that weight.
Oh my God, and he's so damn cute. And yes, you can see Ben and baby E on our social. Go to Dating Diaries QC on IG and you will melt. He's so cute.
There's going to be some sleep deprivation, but one thing I will make sure to do is to be here weekly to talk with all of you.
Well, grab some coffee, Ben, because singles are still counting on our sage advice and looking for their baby daddies and life partners. And according to our first single, Jamie, it hasn't gotten any easier during our break.
The coffee drip is in my arm, and I am totally here for it.
So I had always spent summers down the shore. I was a lifeguard. I had some mutual friends with this guy, and he is my neighbor down the shore almost. In order for me to get anywhere on the island, I have to pass his house.
And then a mutual friend introduced Jamie to that neighbor, and there was some real chemistry there. 2
of my guy friends told me not to date him. And I think it was just because he was a player. And then they also said, I don't know, I just wouldn't want my really good friend dating him.
But Jamie didn't heed the warning.
I wasn't really sure what to take it as, and he was treating me so nicely. So I was like, well, maybe that was just him before, and maybe he's changed since. And I also was trying to say, why am I taking somebody else's judgment of him? I should make my own.
It was Jamie's first real relationship.
So we started dating, and the first year was really great. I'd never been in love before. And then I was very much in love with him.
But they had their rough patches too.
The second summer, we had some rocky periods, and we broke up for a day or two, one of those stupid fights. And there was things that made me nervous about him. He was a really big party person. Not that I'm a square or anything, but I just am not as much like that.
Did she just say she's not a square? How cute is she? Come on.
It's kind of sometimes hard to be around someone who really likes to drink and get super drunk with his friends. People aren't the best when they're drunk. Some people are mean when they're drunk, which is kind of what I experienced.
An ugly drunk. I wonder if that's why Jamie's friends warned her about him. But Jamie and her boyfriend hung in there. But when COVID hit, it was hard on their relationship.
We were really far apart from each other for a while because he was at one of his vacation houses and I was staying in the city because I had school. And I think he was frustrated that I wasn't making enough effort to spend time with him.
The summer and the mutual love of the shore calmed the waters. But then Jamie started to not feel so great.
I was having a lot of symptoms, female symptoms. And it wasn't anything gross. My doctor and I thought it was my IUD. I was having a reaction. She was like, you're not having any other symptoms that make me think it's anything else. And she's like, I know you've been in a long-term relationship. Let me just do an STD check because I have to. She was like, I totally know it's not this. And then I was spending time down the shore and I realized my doctor's office had called me a couple times. And I was like, oh, well, they never do that. So I logged into my healthcare portal and I have 3 messages from my doctor saying, I'm so sorry to tell you, but it came up as chlamydia. I have your prescription ordered. And I just remember sitting there. It was a rainy morning and I was just shocked. I was like, I cannot even believe what I am reading. This doesn't make any sense to me. I've been with him the whole month of July and August. I don't even know when he could have done that.
So she called him out on it.
That morning, I found out. I called him and And I was like, what the fuck? I don't understand how I have chlamydia. And like, we know that I didn't give it to myself. And then he was like, I don't know what to say. And then he got really upset on the phone and was like saying it was just one time, but he said he didn't know who it was. He got drunk and like fell into someone's vagina is basically what happened.
But eventually, Jamie figured it out. They were only apart from each other for one weekend over a month ago, which must have been when it happened. That meant that Jamie had been walking around with an STD for over a month.
I was so overwhelmed. I said I needed to be alone. He needed not to talk to me.
So her boyfriend put his feelings into text.
It was kind of just like a bunch of excuses instead of just like a plain old, I fucked up, I'm really sorry.
Jamie felt forgiving and empathetic. They were young and figuring it out. It's hard to be in a relationship in your 20s. She decided to look past it and move on as best she could. But he seemed to have a harder time with that.
He just continued to not let me heal from it. It was just like, if I tried to talk to him at all about it, he would interrupt me in the middle of what I was saying to say, well, you're wrong about this, and like, you're wrong about that. I think he was just embarrassed that he messed up and that he got caught messing up. And like, he just didn't want anybody to tell him what he did.
And then he dropped the bomb.
Kind of like after we made up a little bit, it'd been like 2 or 3 weeks and we were out. He had been drinking, but I wasn't really drunk. And he told me like he didn't want to date anymore. And I had like an inner panic attack. Like he started saying things that were just so nasty. And I feel like he was just trying to get me to break up with him so he didn't have to do it. And then we walked out of his house towards mine and he just left me on a street in the middle of the night. And I just walked home and I was so upset and I felt like I had no closure and I felt like an idiot because I got dumped.
And his behavior just got worse.
One night when I tried to reach out to him again, he was like, why can't you just stop and be the strong, independent woman you claim to be? Like, leave me alone. And then he said, what does it tell you about yourself that I broke up with you after I gave you chlamydia? And then he was like, you were a horrible girlfriend for a year. I should have dumped you before. He just was saying all this extremely verbally abusive stuff. And I would be lying if I said that it hadn't happened before.
Is this who he always was? Who did she even love?
Was he a completely bad boyfriend? No, there was a lot of good things. But the way he ended it was so confusing to me. He stopped caring about me so much that he didn't care what he said or what he did. He just wanted to push me away and get rid of me.
There were good times. There were I love yous. But the cruelty and the cheating, it's a mindfuck.
Like when you get cheated on, even though you know deep down it's not your fault, like people cheat because they can or because they want to, you always think it's your fault. And like you go over things in your head like, I shouldn't have done this or I like shouldn't have done that.
But she pulled through and finished school.
When I was finishing nursing school, I was just like a wreck. And like I was just all over the place with my emotions.
There is still grief there. She misses the good parts of a man she once loved and the life that came with it.
Another painful thing for me is I was very invested with his family. I was very good friends with his siblings and like his mom too. And I don't feel like a lot of people talk about that so much, but I feel like as a girlfriend with a boyfriend, like sometimes you get really attached to their mom. During the holidays, she texted me and was like, we think about you all the time. We miss you so much.
There have been moments, though, where she's been able to see what she meant to the people in his life during their relationship.
His roommate is dating a girl that's a nurse, and like she's really awesome. And like we've become really good friends. But like I went to meet up with her and all his friends were there. And they all were like, we miss you so much, Jamie. We think you're totally awesome. He made the biggest mistake. I was like, oh my God, don't make my ego get huge. But this feels good. One of his guy friends came up to me and was like, I really hope we can be friends, Jamie. I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, I really miss you. And like, I really want to still be your friend. I was like, oh my God, of course. So that was good. That was like a happy ending.
He's so riddled with self-shame that instead of dealing with that guilt and self-shame in a healthy way, he puts it on Jamie and makes her feel less than and makes her feel responsible as opposed to being a man. I mean, he's not only breaking her trust, he's making her feel like she's responsible for the decisions he's made. And that is so damaging to make someone else feel the responsibility of, you're the reason why I chose to do this to you. There's serious mind games here, and it takes a ton of work to get past that because honestly, it's emotionally abusive. And then in addition, he's like, I want you to be the strong, independent woman that you pretend to be. Like, how manipulative is that? I wanted to search for this guy down the shore and literally punch his lights out. Don't make me feel insecure about the person I'm portraying myself to be because you beat me down and you did it well. Like, fuck you. Honestly, it infuriates me that she has to navigate something so toxic. It makes me so sad. How hard is it to say, I fucked up? In a challenging moment, I had sex with somebody else. That is my decision. That is something I did, and I'm sorry.
He didn't want to be responsible for his actions. He found a way to make her responsible for him cheating. I would say the worst thing I heard is him belittling her as a person by saying, I gave you chlamydia and I still needed to break up with you.
Like, can you imagine being a person that is that mean? That is mean. And after all of that, she's still holding on to that energy.
My feeling on that is that it is a wound that she has not been able to heal from, that it is still open and it is still bleeding. And as she told us, she still got through graduation, but she was a shell of herself getting through that. And that's really hard to hear because she did nothing wrong. The other possibility is that she hasn't closed those feelings for him and continues to think about him and the good things that they had together and is still holding out hope that that person isn't who they showed up as when they were their worst.
It's so effed. And I get it. I've been there. Like, our listeners know that I was in a very similar relationship. The cheating was insane. But I stayed in that relationship because I had a relationship with his family. And his mom was like one of my best friends. Like, you're literally walking away from a unit that you've grown a bond with. It's really tough. And then she's got to see this guy like every weekend down the shore.
It doesn't help. I mean, the fact that they have mutual friends doesn't help.
One day, Jamie is going to be like, thank God that's over. That time will come. It's just like this delta, like Brene Brown talks about the delta, where you're between a river and the sea or a bay and the sea, and it's really gritty and the currents are all together. She's in the delta right now. That state of change, it's really difficult. But the best thing that can happen for you is what you learn in the delta when you're up against all the currents and you don't know if you're going to make it out there, but eventually you get there if you stop resisting. I think for Jamie, it's like, I learned that my happiness means more. My future and what I want and the energy that I want for myself now and my future means more. So if someone's like making me feel like a piece of shit and is bringing in that negativity, I can't. Life's too valuable.
So Dre, we received a letter at datingdiariespod@gmail.com. I mean, the emails keep flooding in, and from time to time we have ones that stick out to us. You want to do the honors and share it with our audience?
Sure. Hey, Ben and Andrea! ! Thank you for bringing our dating stories, whether they be hot romances or dismal failures, to the airwaves. Or perhaps pod waves? I wanted to share my dating story in hopes that you both could offer advice and commentary on it. So So here it goes. My backstory is that before the pandemic, I was living abroad in the Peace Corps before being unceremoniously dumped right back in my childhood bedroom in my parents' house. So like any young person with nothing to do, I hopped back on the dating apps. Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, you name it. I was on it. Over the past 18 months, I went on a handful of dates while being COVID safe, of course, got ghosted more times than I could count, and had just about given up when I matched with this cute girl on Tinder. She walked up to me outside the bar where we were going to meet, and holy crap, her Tinder profile did not do her justice. Our conversation flowed super well. The first date ended with us sprinting back to our cars through the pouring rain while trying to use the inadequately sized umbrella I had brought with me. We went on a second date, then a third, and on the third date, we finally kissed. Not to sound too sentimental, but it was the first kiss I had in over a year. And I'm really glad I got to share it with someone who I actually felt a connection with. We had our fourth date the other night, a movie night, and let's just say we didn't watch the movie all that much. You know. So here's the kicker. In the next few weeks, I'm moving to a city about 2 hours away. Of course, I was upfront with her about this when we started talking, and she was okay with it. We both agreed that the timing sucked, but that we could make the most of it while we had the chance to. It has led me to feeling some sort of way, though, because this has been a common theme in my life up until this point. I meet someone really awesome right before I'm about to move away or transition to something new, which makes it hard to build a connection with people. I would like to try to stay in touch with her, but with her finishing her undergrad and me moving, it makes things very complicated. With the world opening up and people making career moves and life moves, I'm sure others can relate to this feeling. It's the feeling of life moving so fast that it's hard to bring someone else into it. Would love to hear your sage advice on this. Again, thanks for all you both do. Cannot wait to hear more episodes. All the best, Matt. He's so cute.
He's conscious that something and someone he really cares about could get strained, and it could get to a point where he doesn't want it to be in the future. And it sounds like this is a constant theme for him, that something's going well and then something in life comes up and then it feels like it's all going to fall apart. And I think what I would say to Matt is, unfortunately, that's life. Circumstances don't always make things as cut and dry and as easy as possible. This is a challenge for him to say, how can I set this relationship up? How can I set what's important for me up to be successful with the hurdles of life that are coming? He shouldn't put his life on pause for a relationship necessarily, unless that's what he wants. But through what he's doing, clear communication, being upfront, sharing with her some of the vulnerability that he's sharing with us, he might be able to find an opening for where he can have both things that he wants in his life.
If that's what he wants, is the key here. I don't know what's going on in his head. I'm just trying to figure out if I'm in his position. I want to experience this new adventure 100%. And am I going to experience this at 100% if I'm splitting my focus even just a little bit on a relationship? I think a lot of people have been confronted with that, which is, if I go into this new experience, grad school, or this new move and new city with someone else, am I fully experiencing it?
Mm-hmm. I can go back to an example in my life, and it's a transitional period. And in my relationship, my wife and we've always known that transitional periods are difficult. It brings up anxiety, it brings up change, it brings up a lot of things that mix up what makes us feel comfortable. And when we were dating in college, a transitional moment was we were both studying abroad. And I can relate to what Matt was saying. It was a new experience. I wanted to be fully present in the city that I was in and not, on the phone all the time, checking in, how are things going? And we broke up during that time because for me, what I felt like I needed and wanted in that time was space to really be open and explore. We look back on that time, I do think that space allowed us to find each other again when we did come back. and we were able to express what we were feeling about being apart for that time. I think for Matt, he needs to get really clear on, as you said, Dre, what does he want? I think it sounds like he's torn about, does he want to really invest energy into this person that he cares about, or does he really want to be fully focused on meeting new people and being committed to this new adventure?
I know what it's like to be like, I haven't kissed someone in a year. And you go through the whole rigmarole and you finally find someone and a connection. But the reality is, you will find it again. You will find connection again. You will find someone again. It's just whether or not you want that connection while you're going through this experience of grad school. And if that person's worth it to you. It's a life choice. It's an experience choice. It's what do you want to make out of this experience? And if he is like, I want to be focused on myself, you don't have to cut her out. You can stay in touch, but draw boundaries. Be healthy about it.
Yeah. Don't lead her on. Be very clear about your intention. Because the other side of the coin is maybe this person is really special. Maybe this is the first kiss that you've had in over a year, and it's not about the kiss. There's actually real chemistry there, and you want to see that through. 2 hours of distance is very doable. We had a couple figuring out Sydney to
Hong Kong. Now they're engaged.
I think where you are right now, Matt, in this transitional period, there's no wrong choice.
So it's about getting clear on why you want to stay in touch. Are you afraid of not finding another connection, or because you really value this person in your life? That's a healthy question to ask yourself. It's great to be back, and we love you guys for listening.
If you like the show, please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Your feedback means everything to us.
See you next week. And in the meantime, stay safe out there, guys. This podcast is hosted and executive produced by me, Andrea Gunning. Executive produced by Nancy Glass, Ben Fetterman, and Carrie Hartman. Produced by Julie Clark. Associate producers include Megan Paisley and Kristen Melchiori. Edited by Mac Daggett and Matt Delvecchio. Special thanks to Natalie Thomas. Music by Mybe Music. Some names have been changed to protect privacy.